But what we're going to be putting together is going to be a cleanse for our patients. And one of the things that I get questions a lot, and it's happening more and more recently, people are asking, they say, hey, you know what, do you know a good nutritionist? Do you know somebody who can help me with diet? Is there somebody who can help me to, you just kind of like hold my hand and walk me through this. One person in particular said, like, I know I need to change my diet. This is probably contributing to a lot of the aches and pains that I'm having. She's noticed huge improvements under chiropractic care so far, but there's still some nagging things. And for sure, the foods and diet like plays a role, and lifestyle plays a role. Like there's, you can be getting chiropractic care until the cows come home, but there's still going to be certain limitations of matter if you're eating processed food. If you're eating food that is not biologically designed for our body, and there's a lot of foods out there that most people are eating on a day in, day out basis that our anatomy and our physiology is just not primed to be able to tolerate it. It just isn't. But we've been doing it for thousands of years, and because one mistake gets passed on to the next generation, the next generation, the next generation, it builds up. And so the thing is, around here, I don't know anybody who kind of follows these protocols and has the standards of how the body is supposed to function, how we're supposed to be able to detox our body before we even start putting the good foods in. Right? Because one of the things that you can do is you can go through and you can actually start to, it's kind of like pouring new wine into an old wineskin. Right? You ever heard that? Like you want to make sure you clean out the cup before you put anything inside of it. And our bodies are the same way. So you might start changing, you start adding in, good fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. But your body's like, I don't even feel good eating these good foods in my body. And that's one of the reasons why going through a cleanse and going through a detox is so crucial, is because one, you start pumping in the good nutrients, but you have to start to pull out the crap, right? You got to pull out the junk and clean out your body so that you can prepare for that. And that's one of the things that a detox helps with. And so we're going to walk through that process, and we're going to put this together for kind of like to the lowest common denominator, people that have never really maybe even experimented with diet before. They've never changed anything. This is something that's going to be completely maybe new for them in their world, because like Dr. Natalie said, we're currently going through an intense juice fast, our juice feast, where all we're doing is juicing. We're not doing anything other than that.
I'm calling it a solid food vacation.
Yeah, it's a solid food vacation. But that's something that is, it takes a lot of kind of preparation to do that. It takes a lot of mental willpower to kind of jump into that. And a lot of people I don't think are quite there. So what we're doing is we're offering something where people can jump in even if they don't have any experience. And so that's where, because traditionally I'm less interested in doing any type of supplementation or whatnot, because you should be able to get things through your food. There's a time and a place for all these things. But this is something where the company that we're actually working with is they've dehydrated their foods at a certain level that keeps all the enzymes intact, and their farming practices are absolutely incredible. How they source everything has had a huge amount of intention that goes into it. So this is what we're going to be providing in these workshops, is we're going to be teaching nutrition and then allowing people to jump into this program, and it's relatively inexpensive for them to be able to make a huge lifestyle shift and change. And so that's what we're going to be able to do. And like you were saying before, what this also does is it starts to raise people's vibration, right? It actually literally increases the photon energy, the biophotons in our body. We actually give off light. Our cells communicate. One of the ways our cells...
Photon, you know what we're saying when we say that? It means light energy. Like you remember photosynthesis with plants. When we're eating plants are live. They require light. They require good mineral, nutrient, soil, and water, right? And we are so much like plants in so many ways. Obviously we're mobile and everything, but we require sunlight, and we require good nutritious soil, right, through our food sources that we're eating. And our bodies are composed of at least 70% water. So we have a whole water sphere going on, and we live on a water planet. So like we're all in symbiosis and synchronicity with the planet that we live on. And so there's life in the plants. So we're going to even go into talking about the fact, like, what's the difference of these frequencies or photonic energy whenever we're eating these types of foods that are providing that and adding that to us as well, and the difference between high frequency food and low frequency food, or dead food versus live food, and how that can emulate into the body. And even when we talk about frequencies, like, that is not a common term that people are usually used to. They might be used to like radio wave frequency, microwave frequencies, and sound frequencies, but even the resonance frequency, aka vibration, at which our body works and animates, the way the nervous system works, is a frequency at which it works. How it works its way through the pathway of the nerves to communicate to the body. So we want everything that's going to help allow that frequency to be fast, right? Have high vibe frequency, high vibe. When you say high vibe, it's actually high vibration, right? So like, oh, you're a high vibe person. They're like, you resonate at a high frequency, and it's attractive, right? It's attractive to be around people that resonate at that type of frequency. You're like, I don't know what it is about you, but I just want to be around you. Whatever it is you're saying, like, I don't understand it, but I just want to listen to it. Like, we all know what those types of people are like, and so we want to emanate that. It's very clear on the opposite too. Whenever it's a low vibe, you're like, ooh, I can feel that. You distance yourself, you lean back from that. Or some of us try to fix it, but it's not our job to fix them. It's our job to always try to be at the highest vibration for ourselves, and we will just attract that as well.
Yeah, we're all on the hero's journey, right? So like, nobody else can overcome challenges and solve our problems for us, right? That's why each one of us is on our own path of healing, our own path of being the hero in our own life, because someone can show you the door and show you the way, but you gotta be the one to walk through it, right? And then knowledge through experience trumps all other forms of knowledge. You can read about something, you can talk about it for years and years and years, but until you actually do it, you make the leap. A lot of people have had experiences with chiropractic, right? Or they've heard of other people who have been to chiropractors, and I know about chiropractic. No one can know something until you actually experience, and you can have other people share their experiences, which helps to kind of give a little bit of a collective understanding. But until you actually go through something, you don't have that wisdom or that experience to go through it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to really be encouraging people to take this step, because they're the only ones who can go through it. We can provide the information, we can make it as easy as possible, which is what we're aiming to do, right, so that we can start them down here, but we can get them to start raising their frequency. And when they start to raise their frequency, they will feel it and they will emanate it, and they'll start immediately making better decisions for themselves. Other people around them are going to start to feel it. Their nervous system will benefit from it. One of the things that we're doing with chiropractic is we're releasing the life force energy from basically the spirit that comes and animates itself through the body. It communicates how it's supposed to coordinate the whole body through the nervous system, right? But the cells themselves are operating on their own. What's interesting is, without even communicating to the nervous system, we're finding that they actually emit information. Now, beyond the chemicals even, I'm talking about this is where the biophotons come in. So we give off light, and light carries signals, right? Lasers, whenever you do a barcode scanner, you're like, how the heck does it read how does light read a barcode? You ever stop and process that? Right? So coherent light will come back, and you can actually send and receive information through lasers, through optics, fiber optics, as light transmitting information. So the light carries energy, and if we can actually increase our biophoton level in our body by giving us foods that actually that have a lot of biophotons that increase our own coherence of light energy, now it amplifies the communication within the cells that can now actually go non-local. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be really exciting to dive into this over the course of 6 weeks on how we can actually increase our levels of communication within ourselves, but then it also goes and it starts to communicate itself outside of ourselves as well. So this blends beautifully into what's already happening with chiropractic, because chiropractic is getting changes in people that make no sense to the common observer who's looking at it and go, man, how does that person who had just yesterday told us that their essential tremors are gone?
Right.
Crazy, like absolutely crazy. In 3 months, no more tremors. And she hasn't been dealing with it for a long time.
She's been getting consistent chiropractic care.
Yep. And that's not at all what she came in for, right? And this, to your point, Ruthie, what you were saying, it's like what people's journeys are when they come into the office. It's the funnest thing to watch is all the other stuff. Like you were saying with Gordon, you know, like he came in, he overheard somebody else saying, "Hey, my tinnitus is gone." And all of a sudden he came up and he's like, "Well, mine's gone." Like I didn't even realize. He didn't even think that it was gone because it just wasn't there anymore and it didn't register that anything had changed. And so like that's what's so exciting when the body starts working in coherence with itself is things that you never expect to improve or you just think that you have to cope with start to go away. And the foods that you put in your body without a doubt play an enormous role in facilitating that. And it's amazing, it still blows my mind how much changes we're able to get with chiropractic care where people say, like they don't even touch diet, we don't even talk about diet, we just start getting
that's a big conversation, a lot of conditioning that people have formed relationships and communities and everything around it. And it's a very big topic of discussion that we're like, let's keep the main thing, chiropractic. Let's just get your nervous system tapped in, tuned in, and turned on. And then from there, you'll probably start asking questions as you gain the trust and the value.
But you watch their energy and their vibe start to pick up, right? Like that's what you see. Yeah, their sense of awareness. They're like, they start asking questions that they never would have asked before. Kind of like, hey, like if I'm feeling this good, is there anything else that I can do? That was kind of my journey on with chiropractic. I was like, oh my gosh, it made this big of a difference. Like it started opening me up spiritually, it started opening me up like emotionally to like what other things like in personal development. I've always been kind of drawn to that, but when I started seeing the changes, kind of experiencing things, like I said, like hero's journey of like, whoa, I'm in control of how I feel, I'm in control of my life, I'm in control of the things that are improving me. And if this made this big of a difference, what other things can I do to also move that ball forward and feel even better? And I get to witness that. We get to witness that. You guys all get to see that in the patients because their energy just comes up and up and up.
And we get to feel it too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. And that's why it's so crucial. That's why we're talking about this in the team meeting is because y'all are on the hero's journey. You guys are all there, and you guys are like part of your mission is to serve. We're all in this together. It's the coolest thing to be able to witness is one, I know that I get lit up whenever a patient is like, oh my gosh, I had this change, this is so much better. You see their energy coming through. They're just like lighting up the room when they come in. Before it was kind of like a little rain cloud wherever they went, and you get to see that huge transformation. But I love getting to see like how much it lights you guys up when you guys, when y'all hear the stories too, because it's like, yes, like that's because we're all in this. We're all part of this and we're all experiencing it. And the more that we can raise up coherently together, the more it influences those around us, because we know that the influences of modern day society is usually not very high vibe.
And we want to keep the office high vibe, so we want to make sure everyone that's in it, that's working with us as we're collaborating together, is feeling that resonance. We're not only we're doing it for ourselves, we're doing it for each other and for the people that are getting the opportunity to come in and experience and witness this firsthand, right? So it's a responsibility, absolutely is, which we know it goes back to the values and stuff. It's taking that ownership, and you'll be pretty quick to figure out if you have that value or if you don't have that value, because you will see your way out for sure. We will love on you, absolutely, and we hope and encourage that you continue with chiropractic care in some way, shape, or form, as it can have that impact on your life. But we really do have to take that ownership and that responsibility in the office, because it is part of a bigger whole and part of a bigger mission beyond what we're doing in our office, with how it goes into the ripple effect of the community as well.
Because we're in our office, you and I were talking about this the other day. We're creating this really, really strong vortex. And in communities that have very intense vortices. I like vortexes. Though with really strong vortex energy, like Sedona, Arizona, we've heard from many people who live there. We love it. We absolutely love Sedona. Very strong energy. If you guys haven't been there, you have to check it out. It's absolutely amazing. But they have 4 huge vortexes that are in Sedona, where the energy is literally spiraling out of the earth and spiraling in, so much that you can even see it with if you have like electromagnetic radars,
There's a whole book on the earth frequencies. Because that's how invested we are. Like there's already portions all over the globe and all over the earth. This has part of it because we're on top of a crystal grid here.
Yeah,
so
Northwest Arkansas is a crystal grid.
Yeah, so we're definitely on top of a crystal grid. So this is an extension. It's part of it goes into Florida, and there's extensions all over the place beyond what I can even say right now. So there's a lot of light energy here is what we talk about. There is a lot of light energy, and there's energies of all sorts, whether we want to call them dark or stuff that we just don't want to associate with. It's there, but you're always in protection. And the more that we can keep that light energy of beings, because we are light beings, human beings here, and keeping that community, so we have that responsibility on top of that to help more and more people become the light beings that they already are, but help to discover that in whatever way, shape, or form that is. Because it is easy to get consumed by mass attention, mass media, mass systems, and all these things of the brainwashing and recoding and all these things that have happened. So that's part of that responsibility too, is for us to really to enhance that light for other people to wake up, so we have more and more community here, because there is an attraction here. That's a whole nother story of how myself and Dr. Lee got here.
Before we get too off track, I just wanted to finish up why.
Vortex is all over the place, so.
But why we're creating the vortex in our office, and then to see that it's already happening, is it's drawing people in, right? People that they don't know why or how they showed up, they just start showing up. Like, oh, my friend told me that I need to check it out, or I drove by and I just pulled into the parking lot. Like, these people are being drawn into our office every single week. And they don't know why, but what happens with these strong vortexes is the energy is so strong that you might absolutely love it, but it can be a very, very challenging place to be, because if your energy drops below a certain threshold, it ejects you. It chucks you out. And that's one of the things that, people who want to, like, oh, I want to live in these beautiful, amazing places like Sedona. It's like a lot of the people that have been there for a long time, they're like, give it a year. They just watch people come, they can't handle it, and they bounce out, because they're almost faced with their own demons that they think that they're at a high level, and all of a sudden they realize that their frequency is dropping a lot more often than they expected.
And they're not ready to face it, is really what it is.
And it gets shined, like the spotlight is like more amplified. So everything is more amplified in a vortex. The great, the good, and the bad. It's like the polarity of it.
And in saying the bad, it's like that bad needs to come up because it needs to be released and out. But if you're not ready to release it, if you're not ready to face it, to realize that's an old part of you that maybe served you at one point, but it clearly no longer is in alignment and does not serve you anymore, then you will hold on to it. And literally there's that egoic portion of our heart chakra that's like, that's my identity, I gotta hold on to that. And so it's like, you have to surrender. You have to surrender. Like, that word goes so far and so deep in other ways. To surrender to the fact that of like, not that you're gonna sit and not do anything, but you have to surrender to having that faith and that trust. And I'm gonna shift topics because this is a really big topic. As we are shifting, and there is a huge shift that's happening on Earth currently. In fact, it's predicted in 2027 that there's in different realms and different places, but in human design, they talk about the solar plexus mutation. And what that has to do with, think about the chakra, if anybody knows about chakras and the chakra of the solar plexus is the emotional center. It's that yellow, it's a light, it's very bright, right, energy. And so what we need to be able to do is to be able to tap into our emotions to really use those for creation. We are all creative beings. That's another thing. Every single one of us are creative beings. It doesn't have to necessarily be like you're the greatest painter or singer, and like in the way that we think of, like, creativity comes in so many ways, shapes, and forms, and they all have a purpose, and we all have a place in the big puzzle together. But what is happening is that we are in this transition phase amongst all the things, that are happening. That's really kind of a distraction, but it's also to make it very clear that we need to reconsider why we're doing certain things and what we're involved in, what we're invested in, and if it's really in alignment with us, to really tune in and check into that. Because as we're shifting into this, literally, it's another level of frequency, a higher vibration frequency. The earth is shifting into it. So we need to elevate ourselves so we can shift with it and get the benefit of being. And you'll hear people, you might hear the phrase new earth. There's a new earth that's culminating, and it's predicted around 2027 that this shift will like it's already shifting, but like the shift will happen and then it's going to continue on. And it's up to us as the human beings on this planet to be able to really help cultivate this new earth. That means that paradigms are getting shattered. That means systems are getting broken. That means the old way of thinking, the old way of doing things, from the financial sector to the health sector to all these different sectors, they're collapsing. They're forcibly collapsing. And it's not a scary thing. It's a very exciting thing, especially if you're on the, on the light side and always doing everything from the heart there. So part of that is really protecting our kingdom, meaning our bodies, where we are housed and living in every single day. We need to protect, cleanse, and clear this so we can really enjoy the creation of manifestation of life here on this planet, whatever that looks like for you. So within that shift, we already know, you've heard, and that we have the poster in the office too, that your thoughts create your reality, right? And there's truth to that, absolutely. Whatever recurring thoughts you have, that's what you're going to see. That's the energy that you're creating. If you have recurring thoughts of, maybe lower vibrational things like grief, loss, and depression, and all these other things, that's the frequency that's being given off. And it's not like pointing blame at you per se, but it's like that's a frequency that's given off. So it's going to be continuously what you see, what you're also continuing to hear from other people. So we do have to do our due diligence to be able to shift that, transmute it, so that way we can be the people that we want to be, but attract that in as well. So thoughts create our reality, and it's going to be turning more into, as I talked about, the solar plexus, the solar plexus mutation, is that we need to check into that emotional center and know and start to really understand ourselves from the emotional feelings portion of it, so that, because that is what's going to be creating our reality. Our emotions are creating our reality. Thoughts do too, and what we say do as well, but that's going to be more of that creative energy is coming through our emotions. So it's going to be really, really vital for us to be able to start to tune into that and really learn how to utilize it for excitement, creativity, joy, fun, flow, play, right? And really get involved in that.
Yeah, a lot of it's learning how to actually experience your own emotions, right? We want to label the emotions as good, or we want to label our emotions as bad, depending on what it is. Like, oh, I'm happy, oh, good. Oh, I'm feeling, frustrated, bad. Or I'm
It's a tool. It's also a tool.
But just being able to learn to recognize that you're having that emotion already puts you kind of above it, not in order to try to control it, but in order to recognize it. Because the more tuned in we start to get, just like when people start getting adjusted regularly, one of the things that I see happen, and people tell me a lot, is that they are being more tuned into their body. They're like, I'm noticing when things are a little bit off. Well, we also get that emotionally. We also start to get more tuned in. The more connected that we are, the more high vibe we are, we actually are really tuned in to like our emotions. And interestingly enough, you'll actually start to tune in. The more you start tuning into yourself, because you're on the hero's journey, you'll also start recognizing that you can tune into others as well. And that's one of the things that I guess I never put a lot of thought into, but there's been this huge cultivation between Dr. Natalie and myself on like adjusting so many people on a regular basis, that we're so tuned in to like the adjustment, we're so tuned into their system that what they're feeling jumps out. I mean, they're face down, right? And I can tell if they're happy, if they're sad, if they're frustrated, if they're agitated, if they're having a good day. I can almost see their past and like the past few hours on what it's been. And I can predict up to that point kind of how their day will continue to go. Right when I walk into the room and I don't even see them, they're literally laying face down, just breathing on the table. And that information just boom, it hits me, floods me, sometimes can overwhelm. And so people will go, how did you know? How could you tell? And it's just when you start to develop this and your vibration gets high enough, it's very hard it just seems obvious. It's as obvious as like a little kid throwing a temper tantrum, and it's like, how did you know that kid was upset? And it's like, now it's an adult laying face down, and I'm like, well, I mean, they were stomping their feet, their face is all red, they're screaming, but as an adult laying face down, energetically, that's how clear it can feel how someone is feeling. right? And we can just tap right into that. And we all have that ability. We all have that ability. But so many people don't even know how they are feeling until it reaches a boiling point, similar to pain, right? So many people go like, oh, I've been fine. This just came on yesterday, or like, a couple weeks ago. And they're like hobbling in, they can barely like turn their whole body. We look at their x-rays and it's just like destroyed. I'm like, oh my God, you've been degenerating and you have arthritis from top to bottom. This has been like a 35-year, 45-year process. Sometimes they're only 20, but it looks like it's even been that long for them. And you go, how do you not, you just now are starting to hurt? Oh yeah, I've never had problems before. Yet their range of motion, even when the pain goes away, is like this. It's because they're so disconnected from themselves, and if they can't feel their body until it has to scream and sound the alarm, how do you think tapped into their emotions are they? Not at all. Like they can't even feel their body. They're good luck they're going to be able to understand and interpret their own emotions and make sense of it.
We put up protective blocks.
Yeah.
And shields is what we do, whether we know it or not. So we can go deep into that clearly. And so we all stemmed off of that, frequencies and energy and photonic energy, on how what we're consuming and putting into our body can play a role and assist us and facilitate us along that journey as well. Any other things aside from that? So we'll be doing that every Tuesday. So starting August 10th, every Tuesday, we're literally going to be hosting it live. So we'll have people literally coming into the office. So we're going to have to be very clear on what our cap will be, just because you want to be comfortable in there. And obviously we have 20 chairs, plus we have the 3 along the side. So I'll take it upon with the team too, and you all are invited to. We're going to do it after hours. We're going to do it at 7:30. Okay, so that we have plenty of time to set up a camera and stuff like that and get people welcomed in. And so team can participate, and we're going to have people coming in, and then we're also going to be recording it on. We're going to create a separate Facebook page so other people from all over can also get the benefit of that as well. And it doesn't matter when they're chiming into it, because they can always go back and watch the videos once they're in the group. So we want to make sure we have those conversations and we talk about it in the office. Then if you have friends, family, or whomever else that wants to participate, get them in.
You guys are just doing this for free?
It's free to participate. There's going to be a cost for them to get, obviously if they want to go all in like how we're doing with juicing, or if they want to get the product so that way they can work their way into it through doing the cleanse. Of course there's a cost for those, and I don't even know what they are offhand, but they have the opportunity. This is the information's for free though.
May I ask what brand you guys are using? Is it Purium?
Mm-hmm.
Aha, I knew it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm friends with a holistic coach, a holistic wellness coach.
Mm-hmm.
And he studied nutrition at the U of A, and he's really in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a fantastic product if you're not going to be able to source everything raw and organic yourself, right? And so it's like a step down from ideal, right? And that's what, but it makes it easy for people who are not used to going through the process. They can dip their toe in the water and they can walk through it.
That's me cool, because I'm getting more education on it now, because I was going to meet up with them and get more information on it, but now you guys are doing a free one.
I like the fact that it resonates with me, because I know it's going to resonate with a lot of people that actually almost develop not really a true anxiety over it, but just it's something totally different. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have my kitchen filled with all these fruits and veggies, and then if I don't do this, then they're all gonna go rotten, or whatever. So now they have product that's available, and it's going to take a little bit of the anxiety-ridden thoughts away, because that's something that what
am I gonna buy? My shopping list changes. How much is it gonna be? Can I keep it up? What if
and there's
I travel?
Some human beings, I can speak for myself, but there's some human beings that we're apprehensive about food and nervous about it just because of for whatever reason is going on with us.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah,
it's overwhelming.
It can be overwhelming. It can be worrisome. It could be frightful because it's different. And so, and especially since food addictions are a real thing, that's something else that happens. And so if it's simplified, that helps. It just makes it a little bit easier.
Absolutely. So we can see ourselves doing this on rotation several times throughout the year, and then we'll see how it evolves. We're going to allow it to be organic starting this way, and then see how it continues to evolve. And then especially how it evolves, because obviously I'm doing this while I'm pregnant. you know, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you gotta make sure you have enough protein. I'm like, I don't need to eat meat. I don't need to eat animal products. I get protein from the fruits and vegetables that I'm drinking right now. And that's like newsflash for people. They're like, oh my gosh, you're gonna kill your baby. Like literally, like they're doing it out of love, but they literally are fearful for me. And I'm like, don't be fearful for me. I'm good. This baby's good. This baby is growing in a beautiful universe right now.
Yeah, we're gonna go into a lot of different stuff, but there's so many trepidations and stuff, because if you stop and process anything that is kind of the masses know should be questioned. Because if the masses know it and the masses are unhealthy, the big crazy horde, which is common sense, is often completely backwards and wrong. Totally wrong. So even like your idea of like, oh, well, that seems like what you would see for somebody else, and you would judge that like, oh, this might be dangerous for what you're doing or something. Unless you are walking through with like the absolute best glowing health, you're coming from a completely slanted perspective, right? Because until you have gone where no one else has been, then that's the only time you'll be able to see things that no one else has ever been able to see. So
and obviously with this cleanse, even with the Pure brand, like you can do this cleanse while pregnant. There's like maybe an extra thing that they recommend you doing for most people who don't usually have the access or don't have the discipline to eat the way that we're eating right now, so that way they can make sure they do get those nutrients and stuff like that.
But one of the good things too is as we're going through this, I mean, people will be going through the cleanse. Part of it will be a support group for people that are going through it, so they can share like, oh, I'm experiencing this, I have that, like, what are you noticing? Oh, you're feeling this change? Kind of how we talked about before. We're like, oh, like tinnitus, that got better. Like other people go, oh wait, I'm also noticing that I'm having less digestive issues, or I'm having X, Y, or Z that someone else is sharing. So kind of everyone brings their level of higher awareness to one another.
And it's camaraderie, it's community. And so
it's easier to do something together than to try to do it like solo, you know, in a group. And so the more people that we can get and let everybody know, like, hey, let's do this. Like, let's make this big. You know, let's invite every single practice member that we have into this, making sure that they're aware of it and stay on top of it by constantly reminding them. We'll make sure we send out SCED messages ahead of time and then before each one. But we'll be going into these different topics, so as they're going through it, they're also learning. So there's an education that starts to get built, a re-education. Some people are going to have to be introduced to concepts that they've never considered before, and then it's going to be reorienting them to a new way of looking at nutrition and looking at food and looking at health, so that as they are starting to feel better, now they also have the rationale behind why they're doing it. Right, because so much of it we have to tell ourselves why we're doing this. Oh, you know, when someone goes in to buy a new car, it's almost like a joke among car salespeople that they're asking about the technical specs of the car, when in fact they care about the emotional, like the way it makes them feel when they're in the car, when they're driving. But they want to be able to buy it and then tell their spouse, like, oh yeah, I got the Ferrari because it gets, you know, 14 extra, this model gets 14 more miles per gallon. It was a great deal. We're gonna save on gas. And like, no dude, you wanted a freaking Ferrari. Not that I know anyone who's like driving Ferraris around here, but point being, like, you will say like all the different cool stuff and technical specs about the car, when in fact you just really like the car. You're like, this is gonna be an awesome car. I think it's gonna be able to give me adventure and fun, and it's gonna look cool. I'm gonna feel cool driving it. And you just kind of play out this story in your mind, but you want those on the back end, those other specs, technical specs, to be able to say, oh, well, I did it because of this and that, and I worked them down, I got a deal, all those things. As we go through, we start to feel our bodies change because of the foods that we're putting in. We need to have that logical ammunition on why we're doing it as well. It's just how we're programmed as human beings. So as we go through with this support, it's just going to help to raise everybody up, because now they're going to be able to explain to themselves, as well as to anyone else who might be curious, you know, why they're actually doing it. You know, and to not be swayed if somebody says something like, you're going to kill your baby if you're not eating, you know, a bunch of hamburgers and stuff, because you got to feed that baby lots of protein.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand what the actual requirements of healthy, of thriving is with protein consumption, you might suddenly get cold feet, even though you're doing the right thing. And that's what we want to empower people, is to not be pulled off of the path that's actually right for them. And that's huge.